Welcome to our full body recovery circuit. There are going to be 11 movements just, to have an awkward number rather than around 10. The recovery circuit works like this. You're going to go one movement to the next. We're going to go one way through, 30 to 60 seconds rest between whatever you need and enough time to transition. The rep scheme is such, and I want you to listen to this carefully. You're going to do as many reps as you need to until you feel a burn in the muscle. When you feel the burn, you're going to do only one more, and then you're going to move on to the next movement. Why am I limiting you at that number? Because the burn is going to indicate lactate production, and we want just enough lactate to stimulate HGH production, human growth hormone, which aids in recovery as opposed to fatiguing the muscles more. Okay, so make sure that you're honest with yourself and you're strict with yourself. This isn't a workout to, really go hard. This is to allow your body to recover for the next important workout that you're doing. So I'll probably do only about 10 reps per movement just in the interest of time. And in this video, we're going to run the whole way through so you can follow along with me. So we're going to start with squats. Now, if body weight is sufficient for you, you can do body weight. If, you hate yourself like me, I'm going to go for a goblet squat. All the way down, all the way up, making sure we're keeping good form. It's a good opportunity to focus on your movements and the quality of your movements. Scan your body, check where you are at all times. Be honest with your efforts. Now, actually, coming up to 10, felt a little burn. So we're going to move on to the next one. Next movement is sit-ups. So for sit-ups, you can have your legs straight. That'll make it a little bit easier. You can have your feet into the floor. You can have your hands behind your head, cross the chest, whatever is the right thing for you. So I'm going to have hands behind the head, legs bent, sitting up, back down. Talking during sit-ups, that is no easy feat. All right, we've got 4 more if you're doing 10 like me. But obviously, that number will vary day by day too. Our body is not going to feel and perform the same every time. So one day it might take you 10, the next day it might take you 12. So do the right thing for your body on the given day. All right, next, single leg squat. So generally, I would recommend standing next to a wall. I do not have a wall here, so I'm just going to try and balance, and hopefully my leg with all the titanium will do okay on this. So you're going to hold on to a wall for support, and then we're going to have the non-working leg up, floating over the ground, and then you're just going to squat down and then come back up. Now, when we did single leg squats with Bushik Snyder once, somebody had asked him how deep we should be squatting. And he said something along the lines of, choose depending on how much you hate yourself. So, the level of suffering you would like to endure will drive the depth of your single leg squat. All right, so I'm starting to feel that little warmth creeping through the quad, so I'm going to switch onto my right. Do not judge me for what happens on this foot. I genuinely don't know how this will look, so let's give it a go. That is tough. Oh, that's what happens when you break your midfoot and tear a bunch of ligaments. Clearly, single leg work should be a priority for all of us, but also us with injuries. And I'm going to do 3 more, give or take. Sitting down into that leg, using the whole foot to balance, using the big toe, which Ooh, I'm not gonna lie to you, that is my current struggle. Loading the big toe, it's a little scary once you almost had it break off your foot. All right, hand release push-ups, one of my favorites. So how this is gonna work, you can do full form on your toes if you need to. You can be on your knees. I prefer you to be just above the knee as opposed to on the patella, on the kneecap. You're going to lower to the ground, and the hands are gonna quickly come up, and then you're gonna push back up, and you can push back up using your knees. So here we are, hands a little bit wider than the shoulders, gazing in front of us, chest is open to the front of the room, down, hands come off, press up. Notice the elbows are going back alongside my body as opposed to out to the sides. The on the knees alternative is here. Your other option is to go full form for as many reps as you can and then transition to on the knees. All right, next, reverse lunges. We'll do one side first and then the other, so we're not gonna alternate. So I'm gonna start off with my non-injured leg because that's where I'm more confident. Now notice when I'm stepping back, the knee is always underneath the hip. The knee comes down to a hover, and my shoulders are staying over my hips too. So I don't want too much forward lean here, right? We're trying to load up this back leg. Keeping hips square to the room, so not opening up this way, here. In truth, totally lost count, but a little bit of the burn is happening, so following my own instructions, I'm gonna switch sides. All right. I only started doing reverse lunges again on this leg maybe 2 weeks ago. It's possibly the scariest thing I've ever had to do. It's very funny. Injury can be very humbling. And coming back is a journey, to say the least. But here we are. Now we're lunging semi-confidently. Standing back up fully every time. Hips in full extension at the top. Totally lost count again. Little burns kicked in. We're gonna move on. All right, what do we have next? Russian twist. Love a good Russian twist. On the floor, I'm gonna elevate my heels. You do not have to. You can have them on the floor. Most importantly is keep a nice open chest, good posture. Hands are gonna come together. If you'd like to use a weight, you can. I don't really think most people would need it, but you know your bodies, hopefully. And then we're going to twist our rib cage on the top of our hips, and the gaze is also going to follow. Make sure it's not this, okay? This isn't gonna get you very far. Twist, twist, twist. So now I'm gonna elevate my feet. Awesome. All right, little abs finish there. Lateral squats. So we are going to get into our slightly wider stance. So kind of like a sumo squat stance. And we're gonna go to one side and then to the other. So shifting our weight into that right foot. The torso is going to follow and shift onto the top of that foot, and then coming back to stand in between each rep. Notice the feet are not moving back and forth, okay? It's a squat, not a lunge. In a squat, our feet are planted. In a lunge, We're stepping out and stepping in. Switching to the other side now. Same thing, now shifting into the left. Torso and chest are coming over that left foot. I don't know if we're all in New York right now. I assume some of us are not, but it has been a miserable weekend. Just the other day, I thought to myself, it hasn't rained for a while. And clearly, the universe heard me and thought I was manifesting. I was not manifesting. It was a pure observation, okay? Please don't manifest rain. Unless our plants need it. That's different. All right. Excellent. Next, we're going to go plank into downward dog. So notice plank, okay? So in between each downward dog, I do want you to come back into a plank. Not like a baby downward dog where we're sort of in a plank, but the butt's still sticking out. So starting in our plank, so hands a little bit wider than the shoulders. Feet are probably about hip width, maybe a little bit wider to give you a little bit more support. Shoulders, hips in one line. And then we're gonna push back. Oh, a nice stretch in the calves. A little bit in the hammies, love that. And then coming back to plank, okay? So notice the butt comes down, push back. Oh, delightful. Get a little chest stretch there, and back. Really take a second in that downward dog to make the most of the stretch, because stretching is just the best, especially when we're in a high mileage scenario. We're beating our bodies up and getting it ready to do some pretty impressive physical feats. Gotta give it the love where we can. All right, I feel like I'm enjoying these too much, so I could be here forever. So in the interest of time, we will move on. But, big fan. So, banded rows. You can use dumbbells if you have dumbbells. I'm using a band just because that's what's available to me right now. I'm gonna fold it in half. I am going to step on it. I'm gonna hold the ends like they're little handles. So what am I gonna do first? I'm gonna get into my hinge. So I'm gonna push my hips back, tighten up through the abs, check in with my posture. Nice superwoman chest, shoulders down and back. And then I'm going to pull my elbows into my rib cage and try and bring the band, or my hands rather, with the band in it, towards my ribs. 3, 4, good. Pausing for a second at the top. Feeling that squeeze in between the scapula, in between the shoulder blades. Feel the mid-back start to warm up. The lats should be waking up too. Biceps, triceps. Obviously the rest of the body is working too, right? Because it has to maintain this shape, the shape of a hinge, which is not super easy. But we don't come here to do easy things. Although we do sometimes need to do easy things, all right? Keep those easy runs easy. When easy's in the name, easy's the game. All right, that was good. Glute bridges next. We got 2 movements left. Glute bridges and crunches. Simple stuff, but effective and necessary. So glute bridges. I'm gonna have my feet about hip width. Lying down on the mat, I am going to ever so slightly press my lower back into the floor to make sure that I'm not in my anterior pelvic tuck and my back isn't gonna do all the work. So pop your lower back into the floor. Now I'm going to drive my feet into the floor as hard as I can in order to lift my hips. Then come back down. I felt a really, really good hamstring squeeze there. Good job, Elena. Very hamstring and glute focus right now. Now, arms wise, you can have them out to the sides like this. This is going to be your easiest variation. 45 degrees to the body, a little bit less support. If I want to make it a little bit harder, arms up. Now, if you feel like the bilateral movement, like you could be here for hours doing these, then you have my blessing to go to single leg, at which point one foot is going to come up. Then you're going to drive. You might have to then lower your hands down to the floor to widen your base of support a little bit, but make sure that if you've switched onto single leg, let me switch to the other side, the opposite hip is not dropping. All right, that is key. All right, lastly, crunches. We all know a crunch, so I'm gonna give you two options. Either you can have feet into the floor, legs bent, hands behind your head, and you're just gonna round your back, curl your spine off the floor, getting your shoulder blades off. Chin is to chest. Alternatively, if you know that your hip flexors are super tight and you tend to be hip flexor dominant and they take over for your abs a lot of the time, then I want you to go butterfly on this, okay? So then if you're gonna come together, knees will fall out to the sides, but everything else stays the same. And this way the hip flexors can mind your own business and not interfere where they have not been asked to join. All right, so that's that. That's a recovery circuit. Again, as I mentioned, as you go through this day to day, the rep count may vary. I wouldn't focus too much on the rep count. If you want to keep a note of it for your own purposes, sure, go ahead. But don't sweat it. You know, some days you're going to be exhausted and sore. And the goal here is just blood flow, promote recovery, get the body moving, and try and feel a little bit better. All right, see you soon.